guys, so today I'm going to be showing you my personal process for making beats. So usually I start off, for today's purpose, since I did have to kind of go through this quickly, I just picked one of the folders I had that had a couple sounds in it, and I'm kind of picking through which ones I want to use. So that's what you see right here that I'm doing. And then so I usually started off, when I do work with these kinds of loops, I started off by just listening to it a couple times and seeing what kind of pops into my head when I do it. And then when I go to the first part of that, you see right here, it's called EQing or equalize. You change the frequency of the channel that you're working on, and it kind of changes the pitch, like you went right there. And then, so I do that because it changes the sound, and sometimes it sounds really interesting. And I like to kind of have that like intriguing factor in the start of my beats, kind of like the hook, where it like kind of brings you in. It's like, ooh, that sounds a little nice. So and then right now, sometimes what I can do with these tracks is you can add little tiny details that just make it a little bit better. How like those little bass thumps that you have right there, kind of add a little bit more. That way it's not so bland at the beginning. And so now what I'm doing is I'm picking out the main portion of the track. So I have the melody right there, and so what I'm doing is I'm messing with one of a different kind of musical tone on there, and it was just a lot of back and forth, like kind of micro managing where it can go exactly. So I kind of fast forwarded through that a little bit, and then right now I usually start off with the kick drums always. And once I do the kick drums, I have a drum pack that has hard hitting kick drums for beats like these. And so what I'm doing here is I opened up the piano roll for the kick drums, and I'm making sure every kick drum sounds good. I made sure that everything fit right where it's supposed to. And then so now I'm working on the snares, and I like to go for like this kind of trap kind of snare, and that like clacking that you hear was my actual keyboard that I have. And so I'm doing the same thing. I'm going into the piano roll, I'm just making sure the velocities and the note placement and everything is good there, making sure the rhythm is fine and how it's supposed to be. And then right here, I had some parts that were overlapping each other, so I fixed that. And then my process on going through hi-hats is very simple. It's just either just straight eighth notes, just straight tapping the whole time, and then I kind of go, or sometimes I will change the hi-hat that I want to do something different to. That way I kind of have the rhythm, but then I can either keep it a different one and kind of add a difference in sound, or I can drop it back and have it all the same sound but have that rhythm easier, so I don't have to spend as much time kind of going through everything. And then so after about the first verse, I kind of work on the chorus. Much like the beginning, I like to have my choruses sound a little bit different, if not drastically different, than the main part. That way you can kind of differentiate between what's the chorus and what's the verse, what's the hook, and all that. So like I'm doing here, I'm equalizing everything to make it sound different. I'm making sure that it matches this, because I like the way this channel sounded. So I was equalizing that so that I can equalize the chorus. And then right now, as you can see, I'm picking the kick and the snare, and I'm making those different channels so that I can make those sound even different for the chorus, because I like all my sounds to sound different. And after I do that, I do what's called an 808. It's like that big thump that you hear like trap songs. And so not all beats require it, a lot of them don't actually, but I like to do it. It gives a little bit like bounce to it. For the second chorus, usually sometimes if I'm like, I won't have that 808 bass in the first part, and then I'll cut the chorus so that it's a little bit of silence, and then I'll have it just randomly come out of nowhere, and then kind of make that like, oh, that just happened. I really like the way that sounds. It kind of gets that like surprise factor in there. And then so I'm working on the ending right now. So it really, it's just simple. The way I like to end my beats is just simple drums at the end. and then just have the rest of the music play out depending on what kind of track I'm doing, whether it be like a trap, drill. Sometimes I do orchestral. Sometimes I do lo-fi tracks. It just kind of depends on what instruments I use, how it sounds. Sometimes you might have the beat just might end. Right now what I'm doing is I'm changing the pitch. So I change the pitch, that way it kind of drops in, comes back up, drops in, and then it just stays silent like that. And I really like the way that sounds.